Hey folks, today we're in for sort of a rare treat. I don't do these very often. It's an all aquarium update. Lately I've been doing just kind of onesie twosies. This is actually all of my aquariums all together in one video. It's all coming up right after this. Hey YouTube, this is Pecktec, and this is sort of a rare video. For a while I did these and it would be like every 6 months, and it has been about 6 months since I've done a real kind of an update series. Also, it seems like lately I've done these updates that are more focused on groups of aquariums versus just all of them. But I decided I really wanted to do an all aquarium update. And quickly before we get started, if you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the algorithm out. If I haven't earned your subscription yet, I'd love to earn it today. Please give me a subscribe. I'm trying to get those numbers up. I didn't do a lot of extra cleaning on these tanks. Maybe just a little bit. They've all had their weekly maintenance and stuff within the past week. But I didn't do a whole lot of extra cleanup for these tanks that are kind of being presented as they are now. There's one of them that actually had a huge change that I kind of passively filmed. I was going to bring it up later, but it's going to show up, so we'll talk about that when it comes up. I didn't really film any of it. I just kind of got aggravated and redid it. But we're going to jump right into it and start with the aquariums around my room, my bonus room here. Let's go. Sometimes it's hard to know where to start with these videos. Here I am kind of doing a little last minute clean on this 10-gallon. This was the one I did the sandy caps for. And you most recently saw it when I added some gobies that I got on a little road trip. And it's been really neat. It has not been completely algae free since I added the sand, but it's still a little bit early, and I'm adding a lot of meaty foods in there. They seem to eat a wide variety of things, so I don't think I'll have to necessarily continue that way forever, but it hasn't been completely algae free, but it does look a lot better, and it's been good so far. Moving on to the other side of the room, we've got the 20-gallon, which we did the undergravel filter for. That's been actually a dream. Seems like a lot of the algae has gone away. I don't see any hair algae at all. This did get a fairly massive takedown and reset. But so far, so good with this. I've been real happy with the way this tank seems. I also took the population down quite a bit by taking some of the fish, some of the smaller fish, and putting them into the tank next door that we'll talk about in just a second. Overall, there was some blackbeard algae that came up, and the fish quickly ate it, which was different. They didn't seem to ignore it before, but now they're taking it out. And overall, I'd have to say that this tank is just done really well. I'm looking forward to see where this goes in the future. I had a couple of comments talking about the way I did the anoxic or undergravel filter system probably wasn't good enough. Like, it would probably need a little bit more of a siphon, and I've got a plan for that. I'm thinking about running an airline tube down through the hose that I used and put it more directly into the canister filter. I'm not completely sold on doing that yet, but I might do it if it seems like it's not getting enough flow underneath. So moving on to the cube next door, as you can see there, the glass top, still doing well. I've incorporated some floating plants into the little chambers in the back, which kind of keeps them from overpopulating in the front, but it still gives me the benefit. In fact, putting them right over the filter kind of helps with the evaporation, I think. This one also has done really good. It's got a little bits of algae here and there, but I've pretty much fully stocked it. It is absolutely full of small fish. I've got tons of small endlers in there. Endlers that I've been breeding up, a special batch of the yellow ones that I've been trying to breed. I've got some of the orange shrimp from downstairs that have made their way up here. I've got a couple of rosy loaches. I've got some exclamation point rasboras. A number of different fish in here. It's really neat, kind of an eclectic grouping of fish, all tiny things, mostly tiny little fish. The plants have all seemed to do really well. I haven't seen a tremendous amount of growth. I filled it up pretty good when I went in there, but the Anubias and stuff have kind of slow to show their growth. But what I have seen a great improvement on is the four-leaf clover. It really, really liked that substrate and that whatever the combination was that I used there. It really liked that, and it is just running all over, which is good because I wasn't really happy with the rocks that I'd put in there, and it seems to really be doing a great job of kind of covering that up and making it more interesting. What we have next is the Fluval Flora. This is the old style Fluval Flora. I did it at an aquascaping competition back in 2017. It's got a betta and some pencil fish, including a little baby pencil fish that I just saw a couple of days ago. It's really neat. The face is still in there. If you remember, this had a face into the back of the tank. And it's still there, and it looks really neat. I don't have it lit up anymore, but I just kind of let this one jungle out. And I don't mess with it much. I just let it grow. It's doing great. Right next to it here, we have the steampunk tank. Now, the steampunk tank, I recently did a video where I trimmed this out, and it is looking really neat again, nice and lush inside. Again, this is a tank that doesn't require almost any maintenance whatsoever. I do trim the plants occasionally. I haven't done a water change in here in about... I think it's going on about 2 years now. I've only been adding water, and I've been testing it just to kind of see what happens. The fish inside, I threw a little bit of food in there. Normally they just kind of barely move around, but whenever you throw food in, the coolies go nuts and start running everywhere looking for food, and it's really neat. They seem really happy. I see them kind of sitting in the little caves and stuff that I've made for them and just kind of hanging out, and they scoot around. I think they really like the kind of extra dark environment that they have in there. And of course, the sand that they can run around on. This tank is really special to me. It was a really kind of a step out into a little bit more creative style of fish keeping. And but I gotta say, technically, like the way the plants filter the water in this is pretty incredible, and it is my lowest maintenance tank ever. It is really incredible, and I'd love to build a bigger version of it. Now, although these aren't aquariums, I wanted to show you my terrariums are still going. I find them to be kind of boring. It's kind of like there's really I need to put some like critters inside, maybe some isopods or something like that, something to kind of move around. I mean, they have springtails in them, but you can't really see them, so they're kind of neat, but they just sit there. So I believe my oldest tank that I've got a video for is this one, my 57-gallon column tank. And it's a Marineland tank. It's still going. And it's got a lot of the same plants in it. It's starting to get some kind of old tank syndrome, like the plants just aren't growing like they used to. I'm going to try some of those root tabs Corey sent me. I'm going to put some of those in there and see if I can kind of spruce it up. It's actually not doing bad in spots. It's starting to get a little bit more hair algae than I'd like, and stuff like that. But it's not done bad. It's got kind of an eclectic mix of fish where usually an aquarium will get torn down or something like that, and the fish just kind of end up in here just because it's big enough to hold a lot of different ones. And I tend to keep kind of a lot of small to medium-sized fish, so they've all kind of accumulated in here. I've got another fish that I'm sort of growing out. I'm hoping to put it into the 210. I've got an angelfish. I actually had two up until maybe 2 days before I went to film this, and I moved one of them out of here. I'm hoping to, if I separate them both, they'll kind of grow a little bit better. What you're looking at now is a blue ram. This is a really old female blue ram. If you remember, I got them years and years ago. I got the pair, and the male died out on me about a year ago. I've still got the female, and I've still got this rainbow fish. This is the last of the rainbow fish that were born in here, and I cannot catch her to save my life. So it's been really tough. I've got a nice little Java fern tree there that I've enjoyed. I love that piece of driftwood. Now, if we look over in the other side of the room, you're going to see my Spec and that little 10-gallon. So this is kind of the big surprise. This is that 10-gallon that I reset recently. And I decided to sand cap it. I was having all these problems with algae and such. It was really, really becoming a pain. And I've replaced the light too. What I have on there now is really dim, and I'm going to replace it with something better. But I put a huge cap on it. I decided I didn't really experiment enough with the sandy cap on the other one. I made it kind of shallow. This one is enormous. Of course, my King Beta does not care. He's doing just fine. It's got some kind of weird light on him right there, but he's doing just fine, and the tank is doing okay now that it's been reset. The 5 gallon, this is the 5 gallon. I think the last setup video for this was probably, well, it was a long time ago. I think it was called Mini Gardens, and it's changed a lot since then. Mostly, the original setup is what you see there. The mini gardens are gone, and the plants that were in it are gone. But man, the Anubias that I put on the side is just slowly creeping across and becoming a big presence in there. Now we go downstairs to my living room, and we take a look at some of our tanks. One of my most popular tanks, of course, is the Megaflex. The Megaflex, right after I did the update for it, just got covered in algae. I had a huge algae outbreak. I'm not sure what happened, if something died or that I didn't see or something like that happened in there, but it really got bad for a while. And I was cleaning it out and doing regular maintenance on it, and I decided just to put like an algae A-team in there to help clean it up. What I've used is I've got a whole school of 6 Siamese algae eaters. Now, I got them separately at different places over the course of a couple of months, and I've added them in here, and this is not their final destination. They will probably make their way to a couple of other tanks and then eventually end up in the 210. You might have spotted the other 2 large barbs that are in here. They're algae eating masters. Like, they eat tons and tons of algae, and they too will not be in here forever. They're just kind of temporary residents on their way through. I'm going to grow them out, and they eventually will finish their life out in the 210, along with all my other big fish. This has been a really neat tank when it works, when it's nice and clean and balanced like it is right now. I'm super happy with it right now. I think I'm happier with it than I have been at any other point. It's really kind of come to the middle. It's come into balance, and it's starting to really be fun to keep it. I've had ups and downs with this tank, but overall I really love it. I think what I like most is there isn't really a bad view. There's always, it looks neat from the side, and it looks neat from this way and that way, and it's just been a lot of fun. I do recommend with this tank, if you get the extra light. It is a custom light that's made for this tank. Both of the lights that fit inside the top are custom, so if you decide to go with a second light, you're going to have to order it a specific one, unless you want to kind of engineer one into the roof. But it's really easy when you buy the one that's made for it. Goes right in there. You can kind of control them independently with the app. Working with the lights in the app has been really neat. Really helps you extend the photo period of your aquarium by making it really dim. The fish really seem to react to the dimmer lights in the evenings and the mornings too. And overall, I just gotta say it's an outstanding tank. I think of all the Fluval tanks I've done, this is my favorite. So now we go to the 27-gallon cube. This is an old Marineland tank. I set this up years and years ago, and it's been a lot of fun. It too is kind of starting to get some old tank syndrome. The plants just aren't quite as lively as they used to be. I've just trimmed out a whole bunch of old growth in there not too long ago, and so now it's kind of narrow. This is working as sort of a holding tank for the other angelfish that I spoke about. I do need to get him out of here because there are fish that once he's full size he will eat. I haven't seen any aggression from him whatsoever so far. So either I've been lucky or he's just too small to really eat anything. I'm probably going to move him out of here within the next couple of weeks into another tank, either another tank to hold or some, maybe a different scenario. I don't really trust him in there with those little fish. The big tank's still doing pretty good. I really love a nice side view of it.
when I'm lucky, Mr. Tubes pops out and gives us a little show, swimming around, thrashing around sometimes. I've lost some of my older rainbow fish, so my population has gone down a little bit. I'm hoping to grow up some more and put them in there. I've still got my electric blue Ankara, and it's a stunner. I mean, whenever someone comes over, they always remark how pretty that blue Ankara is, and I agree. It's been a great fish. I've been putting some mops out, hoping that because the rainbow fish are very amorous, we'll put it that way. They're very amorous in there, and I've been putting out little fabric mops. I'll put them under there, and then I'll put them in the sump, and I've been swapping them out, and I'm hoping to get some more babies. With Mr. Tubes in there, there's zero chance for babies to really survive very long. Most everything in here is going to try to eat them. I have seen a couple escape to behind the background. There's a little space back there, and there's actually a baby in there right now that I just can't get to. And I've had them just magically appear in here. I think they grow up behind there, and then they kind of somehow they find a way back around to the front. It's a pretty fun tank overall. It's always impressive when guests come over. They're real impressed to see it. It's looking a bit empty right now, but like I said, as I've shown you in my other tanks, I've got things growing up, getting ready to put in there. I'm having to be pretty careful about what goes in there because some of the fish I have will bully it a little bit, especially my giant loach, which for some reason didn't come out to be photographed, but trust me, is enormous. As we work our way over further into the living room, we've got the new style Flora and the little waterfall that I made. Both of these have been living together on this little island for now. The Flora is really neat. I really like it a lot. I think I like it a lot better than the original. Just the sheer size of it really makes a big difference. And the stuff that I've used to plant it seems to be working. All the plants are thriving. My sword plant in the front there is getting a little big. It's kind of messing up my aquascape a little bit. I was hoping it would kind of stay as a little bush, but I guess it got into a good environment, and now it's kind of bigger than I would like. As for the inhabitants, the shrimp seem to be doing really well. A really massive population in there. There's always tons and tons of babies in there. I think the last video I did with this tank was the plan for planaria, where I was dealing with some planaria issues in here. I ended up adding a bunch of pygmy Coreodoros, about 6 or 7 pygmy Coreodoros, and the planaria has been greatly reduced. Of course, I was using a trap too, and after the what I showed you on the video, which was the first time I'd used the trap, and I caught just an enormous amount. After that, I really didn't catch that much. I baited the trap the same way, and I just didn't get all that much planaria out of there, although I was seeing them occasionally, not nearly as much. Then I added in the pygmy Coreodoros, and I still see occasionally some planaria, but when I put the trap in, I catch next to nothing, which makes me think that the population has been managed down to an acceptable level. And it seems to be going okay. There's an amazing amount of little babies in here. It's really kind of crazy how many of these little baby shrimp are in here. So I've been migrating them out. Some go to the sump. Some have been going to the tank upstairs. Just kind of spreading my orange shrimp throughout the house and trying not to mix them in with the red. Right next door we have the mini waterfall. Now, not all the plants that I made for this worked, but the tree has just grown all over the place. It's growing all the way up into the lamp. I really need to take that light off, do some trimming, and really focus on kind of getting this thing reset. Look for this video to happen pretty soon because I've got to deal with it. My last tank I want to show you is the Spec 16. The Spec 16 is it's definitely up there on my tanks I love that are super easy to keep. This gets almost zero maintenance. I do regular water changes and I scrape the glass. I don't vacuum the bottom of it with a gravel vac or anything like that. I just let it go. This tank, of course, has a little half beak at the top, and it's got these Galaxy Rasboras. Again, it's got some rosy loaches in there, a couple of great big Amano shrimp, some really super old Amano shrimp, one's at least 9 or 10 years old now. And it's a really, really fun tank. I keep it in the kitchen. It's the only tank I have too that's at eye level, and I think it gets observed a lot more because I don't have to lean down and try to get in there and look at it. It's a really, really fun tank. I really love the size. That 16 gallons seems to be a nice size tank. It's the 10 gallons. I like 10 gallons, but it's a little small, and sometimes it's hard to fit a 20-gallon in just because of the shape of it. Especially the long ones. The Crypt Parv in this thing is done really, really well. Of course, it's got all kinds of ADA. It's got the ADA soil and the power sand, and I even included some supplements and stuff. It's done really well. These little sword plants, this kind of bushy, grassy sword plants at the back, trying to take over the best they can. I keep plucking them out of there. It's been a great tank. I get a lot of questions about it. Of course, if you have any questions, just let me know. I'll be happy to answer.
And that's it. You guys have had the tour around my house. I tried not to make this too long a video, but feel free to comment on your favorite tank below, and perhaps I'll do a little bit more elaborate update on it if you're interested. Of course, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to comment down below. I would ask that if you have questions about the substrate or the setup or something like that, all these tanks have videos associated with them, and they're in playlists that make them pretty easy to find. Just scroll down and take a look. Sometimes I can answer from memory. Sometimes I've forgotten because it's been years and years ago since I even did it. And I don't sit around and think about the layers of substrate that I used for this particular tank or that particular tank, unless it was something kind of special like the Spec 16 with all the ADA stuff. I got an exciting product in the mail from Fluval the other day. It's a UV sterilizer. I actually was going to do it this week, but I can't decide which tank I want to put it on. I'm either going to put it on this one, but I don't think it really needs it, or the one downstairs, which maybe could use it. I don't think it would hurt down there. But I'll be unboxing it, talking about the benefits, and it is a little different than other UV sterilizers, so I think it'll be neat. I've also got another box from Corey. I've already shot the video for, so that should be coming up real soon. He sent me some neat aquarium plants and planters, and of course that's why I opened it so quickly. Hey, if you're wondering about this shirt, Holly took one of our watercolor pictures of rainbows, and we scanned it and threw it up on Teespring. So this is a shirt that you can get if you want. If you like some rainbows, I've made a couple of different versions of it. And once again, I'd like to send out a huge shout out to my Patreons and people that have sent in your donations. I really appreciate your help. Your help really makes a big difference these days, and it keeps me going. Thank you very much. And that's all for now until we meet again, and it won't be long. Follow your bliss, keep a clean tank, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.